Hello and welcome to the Empowered Couples Podcast. This is Jocelyn Freeman, and you're going to be hanging out with just me today as we dive into this short but power-packed episode on how we literally never bicker or get frustrated about household tasks and chores with a simple system we use and perhaps something you can benefit from as well. And thought of this after, again, the workshop. I know Tuesday's episode was an aha from our couples workshop in Arizona, and I was interacting with a couple, and it was interesting, right? They'd been together for quite a few years. And one of the recurring frustrations for them was around household tasks and chores. Now, of course, there were some deeper emotional needs that they were both reaching for. They both wanted to feel respected. They both wanted to feel like a team. And that's the thing, right? It's always coming back to some emotional experience that you're reaching for. But as I interacted with them, after we kind of addressed the emotional aspect of it, I shared with them that Aaron and I literally never bicker about household tasks. And they were like blown away, like, how is that even possible, right? And so it made me think, perhaps Aaron and I have implemented something that maybe has never occurred to you, or you haven't even just taken the time to do it. Like, you've thought of doing it and you hadn't really sat down to have the conversation. So I hope that this is either a reminder or a new perspective that you can take on. And you know, the whole reason that this I think is even important is because when I was interacting with that couple and I said to them, you know, wouldn't it be amazing if you could just kind of give up this frustration and where you give away so much of your energy and your attention. Like, if you think about the number of minutes that you two are either frustrated with each other about this or bickering about it, think about how many minutes that is that you could be experiencing more joy, more peace, more happiness, more connection. And they were like, yeah, we're pretty bummed that this is even the main, topic for us. And that's the thing you have to realize. You have to even ask yourself, how much energy and of our power and our time are we giving to these things that, yes, are important? I mean, home items are a part of real life, right? But are they really the thing that should make or break your experience of the day and how connected you feel and how much joy you're experiencing? I personally don't think so, right? I think there are bigger and better things that you can be bringing your attention to really make this life count, right? We get this one shot. So that's what I'm really inviting you into, and also inviting you into eliminating bickering over this. Again, it's robbing you of energy. It's not the sexiest thing. It's not making you feel super drawn and attracted to each other. And I also invite you into eliminating expecting each other to just know what each other should do. It never works. It's not a good system. It's no system at all to just kind of expect, well, if they would want to help me around the house, if they were a team player, they would just know that they could go do this, 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 and this. And couples have said that to us before. But not everyone's brain works that way. Not everyone's brain can anticipate and kind of look at the landscape of everything and just go, oh, yes, I see all these things I can do. So expectations, and more so the unexpressed expectations and assumptions, just don't work. Again, it's just a source of frustration. So I'm inviting you to eliminating those unexpressed expectations and those assumptions that you make about each other as it relates to household tasks and chores, and kind of just hoping that one of you picks it up, right? And does it. Not a good system. And, before I get into the system, the last thing I want to share is that Aaron and I truly see ourselves as partners. There are different views and perspectives in relationships. Some people view that the man is the head of the household and he's the one that goes out and works, which personally I think is a pretty archaic view of relationships. Our paradigm, our belief for relationships is that it truly is co-leadership. We are co-leaders, and that's co-leaders in parenting when we are parents here in just a few months, co-leaders around the house, co-leaders in our finances, co-leaders in our business. We truly see ourselves as a partnership. There are no expected roles related to our sex, related to who we think should do these things because you're male, because you're female. That just personally doesn't work for us. If that works for you, fantastic. But I invite you to seeing yourselves as partners and as co-leaders in all areas of your life, right? So with that said, with those invitations, if you're on board with that, what we do, I'm going to give you kind of a two-parter here. First part is we really are clear on the things that are more important to each of us. Sometimes we use this rank of importance. On a scale of 1 to 10, how important is this to you? And for some household tasks and chores, for me, it's more of a 9 or a 10. And for Aaron, other things are a 9 or a 10. And to me, I'm like, oh, that's a 1 or a 2. As a brief example, the dishwasher. For Aaron, it is pretty high up there in importance that things are pretty organized in there. For him, he likes to open it up and see it put in a way that makes sense to him. For me, as long as all items are just in there somehow and the dishwasher gets turned on, that's okay with me. But we don't bicker over this, because of the system I'll share with you in a moment. So the first step you'd want to do is, and I invite you to write these down because, it doesn't always go so well when it's just up in our head. So you would actually want to write down, what are all the things we have to do around the house or related to just the house functioning, right? That includes bills, that includes making sure things are stocked and all the cleaning, right? All those things, whatever it takes for the house and the home to function. Then really get clear on what's important to you. And this again goes back to what I said to the couple this weekend too, because the dishwasher, funny enough, was a point of contention for them. And I shared something with her that actually resonated because she was like, it's important to me that it's loaded a specific way. And he was kind of exhausted that every single time it was brought up. And he's like, really, do I have to hear about the dishwasher every day? And what I invited her into was, if it's a 9 or a 10 out of importance for you, what if you take ownership of it? And I'm kind of sneaking into the second step here in a moment, but that for her was like, oh, I never thought of, if it's important to me, if it's higher on the rank of importance, that then I would take ownership of that. So that's the second step, but I'm going to come back to that one. So first step, how important is it to each of you? If it's a trash thing and for you, it's a higher importance that it's taken out every night, okay, great. Now you know that. And it's okay if it's a 2 for your partner. Sometimes we can get frustrated that it's not the same level of importance to our partner. You got to let that go. Another example, for me, I love clean counters. I don't know why, but the kitchen, it's like, I just don't want to see crumbs, all that. For Aaron, it's not as big of a deal. Of course, he wouldn't let it get crazy dirty, but he can live with some crumbs, okay? But I don't get frustrated and bicker at him after he makes his lunch for leaving crumbs, because I know it is higher in the rank of importance to me than it is to him, and we accept that about each other. So you'd go through all of them, right? What is it? Keeping toilet paper stocked a certain way, having towels cleaned on a certain frequency, all the things. Get clear on how important it is to each of you, and don't judge if there are differences in that, because that's where we sometimes project our frustration, is thinking it should be equally as important to them. So that's the first step. Get clear on that rank of importance. Then, second step is to create a system in terms of who owns what. And that's what I started to speak to. So because Aaron and I know the different things that are important to each of us, we now each know what we own, and we've designated that. And you guys, if you saw us the way we live, we're just in a flow. We don't even have to bring our attention to these things because we just know what we each own, and we're in a flow. And it's just, you do your thing, I do my thing, and it's just a flow, and that's what you can really have together. So you would actually, and again, writing this down can be helpful, is great, who owns what? And if it's a 10 out of 10 for you or a 9 out of 10, you likely own that. And then you don't need to bicker at your partner anymore for it because you own it. And ideally, you would have shared in terms of energy expenditure. So for a bigger one, Aaron owns paying the bills. Number one, he's just better at like that automation, and he's better at kind of just understanding some of the complexities of some of our bills. And so great, he takes care of that, and I know it takes a bit more energy. So I maybe do more smaller ones, household tasks and chores, that kind of equal that energy expenditure. And that's part of the way you can see it as. How can we each own, it's not necessarily the same number of things, but the same, kind of somewhat balanced level of energy expenditure. That's what you're really reaching for, is that it's somewhat of a balanced-ish, right? It might not be exactly 50-50, but in terms of how much energy you each have to expend in managing the things that you own, right? And so that's really helpful for us, as we literally know just who owns what. For Aaron, like I said, it's some bigger ones are the bills. He owns things around the yard, and either him doing it or him making sure that the people are coming to take care of the yard. And I don't even have to think about it. Like, he owns that. Whereas I own keeping things stocked around the house. I own making sure that we don't run out of groceries. Number one, it's higher importance to me. And also I'm better at it. Now, you would want to sit down and do this for yourselves. And then once you know who owns what, based on that rank of importance and based on it being somewhat equal-ish in terms of energy expenditure, then you really want to honor that. It is an agreement now. And it's not, I'll try and make sure I keep up with this. No, it is, I own this, and I am agreeing that for the sake of our home being a beautiful, peaceful, amazing place and our relationship being in flow, I'm going to own these things, and I'm not going to be frustrated when I do it, and I'm not going to bicker at you when I have to do it. I'm going to own it. And that's what Aaron and I do. And so we invite you into that, to really see it as when you keep your word. We've talked about integrity before, but you keep your word to do the things that you own and that you've agreed to as a couple. Gosh, I promise you, you're going to feel like there's just so much more free energy and space between you two to talk about different things. And again, let in more time for that joy, love, connection, and kind of get rid of some of these things that rob you of your important, precious energy. So I hope this was helpful. Again, just more of a quick, power-packed episode. And I would love to hear from you if you're going to really try this, going through the rank of importance, then creating who owns what. And I can't wait to hear just the more freedom and peace that all of you have. And so before I close out, I know that there's quite a few new listeners, and we're so glad that you're here. And if you're always looking for more relationship tools and skills, make sure you check out our newest book, The Argument Hangover, and you can get some pretty epic bonuses with your receipt number at theargumenthangover.com to improve your communication, improve your conflict resolution, and connect even more as a couple. But we love you all. We're so grateful for you and your interaction here on the podcast, as well as on social media, on Instagram. Hearing from you all, it just makes our day. And with that, everyone, we'll talk to you on the next episode.